The bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki had an explosion equivalent to 15 kilotons of TNT. The blast released 400 times more radioactive gases into the atmosphere than the ones released by the blast. This huge dome can be seen today. This 354 feet tall and 840 feet wide dome is covering up that historical incident which had even put America's biggest enemy, the Soviet Union, into a tizzy. This explosion is known as the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, where a small mistake led to a shocking nuclear disaster. Don't miss the next secret hit. Subscribe. Viewers, Chernobyl Nuclear Plant was built in Prepaid City, 100 kilometers away from Ukraine's capital Kyiv, which is completely closed today. At that time, Ukraine was also a part of the Soviet Union. As you all know, it was the era of Cold War, and the Soviet Union started building many power plants using nuclear energy, one of which was Chernobyl. This power plant was built on 4 nuclear reactors, which were named 1, 2, 3, and 4. The one with number 4 was built last, on top of which there is a huge dome today. These 4 reactors had the capacity to produce 1,000 megawatts of electricity, which at that time met the electricity demands of half the population of the entire Soviet Union. In simple words, if the working of these reactors is understood, then water was heated in them through nuclear reaction. This water turned into steam. It used to run the turbine, and electricity was produced due to the rotation of the turbine. But since nuclear reaction is a chain reaction, that is, once it starts, it cannot be controlled. That is why to control this nuclear reaction, 211 control rods were inserted in every reactor. These control rods are made of such a material that absorbs the neutrons released during the nuclear reaction, because it is the neutrons that combine with the uranium atoms and produce nuclear reaction. When neutrons stick to the control rod instead of uranium, then obviously the nuclear reaction will also slow down automatically. In the case of Chernobyl, these control rods were made of boron carbide, while their tips were made of graphite. Remember that this process continued 247, due to which the temperature inside the reactor reached 1600 degrees Celsius. This creates a temperature of about 30% of the surface temperature of the sun, and for this reason, it was very important to keep the reactor cool. For this purpose, water lines were run inside the reactor. This water kept circulating in the reactor all the time with the help of pumps, just like coolant is used to keep the engine of a car cool. Here in the reactors of Chernobyl, there was a big design flaw which probably no one had guessed. In the case of a car, the rotation of water stops as soon as the engine is switched off. But in a nuclear reactor, the rotation of water should not stop even for a second. Then why not stop the nuclear reaction? Because even after the reaction stops, it keeps producing heat for a long time. For this, it was necessary that these water pumps keep running all the time without any interruption. Now, obviously, electricity was also required to run these water pumps. Normally, this electricity was generated from the reactor's own turbine, while in case of power failure, special backup diesel generators were also installed for them. But the problem was that while shifting to diesel generator, water pumps would remain closed for 60 seconds. Engineers wanted that these pumps should not stop even during these 60 seconds. So for this, a safety system was installed in them. The system was that as soon as the reactor is shut down, it will not stop generating electricity immediately. Production will gradually decrease from 1,000 megawatts. So during this time, the pumps will be run for 60 seconds with the remaining electricity. And after 60 seconds, the backup generators will start running. This system was installed, but its testing was still pending, which was a compulsory process, and that too only on Reactor 4, testing of Reactor 1, 2, and 3. These tests were successfully done. This is the 25th test. It was the evening of April 1986, and preparations were underway to perform this safety test on Reactor 4. This test was being conducted under the supervision of Deputy Chief Engineer Anatoly Detlov. This test had not been successful on Reactor 4 the last 2 times. It is said that the deputy chief engineer had to perform this test tonight at any cost. According to the rule book, this test would be performed when the reactor would be giving a power of 700 megawatts, but normally it used to give 1,000 megawatts. The deputy chief engineer ordered to insert control rods to slow down the reactor, due to which the nuclear reaction started slowing down. Till then, everything was going normal, but the control rods were probably inserted too low. Due to this, the reactor power fell from 1,000 to 30 megawatts. To increase the reactor's power back, the control rods were pulled out a little. Then this power, to further increase the power from 30 to 200 megawatts, some more control rods were taken out. Now only 8 out of the total 20011 control rods were present inside the reactor, and this was a violation of the rule book. It was written in the rule book that there should not be less than 15 control rods inside the reactor. Due to this violation, the reaction increased rapidly, and the power increased from 200 to 1,000 megawatts and crossed 1,000 megawatts and reached several thousand megawatts. Due to so much heat, the water in the pipes started evaporating rapidly, which was actually cooling the core of the reactor. At the same time, a wave of fear ran in the control room, and the entire reactor started vibrating. The only solution to control this was to press the emergency shut-off button so that all the control rods would go into the reactor and stop the nuclear reaction, and the engineers did the same. They immediately pressed the emergency shutdown button, but as soon as the control rods went inside, the reactor exploded with a loud explosion. The intensity of this explosion in 225 tons of TNT in kilograms. As a comparison of the blast recorded, let us tell you that this disaster had released 400 times more dangerous gases in the atmosphere than the nuclear bomb little boy dropped on Hiroshima. At this time, it was 1:26 a.m. on the 26th of April 1986. Question arises that the control rods were inserted to slow down the reaction. Then why did they increase the reaction? Actually, this explosion was caused by the graphite on the tip of the control rods. As you have known in the beginning, these control rods were made of bornerbite, but their tip was made of graphite. On Karpa, it can stop the nuclear reaction, but graphite increases the reaction even more. Before pressing the emergency shutdown button, the reaction, which was already beyond its limit, would have been caused by the graphite tips. The fire increased rapidly, and the reactor walls lost their tolerance and burst. 2 engineers died on the spot, and 2 people were badly burnt. Due to the explosion, the reactor of the plant caught fire. Initially, it was considered a normal fire because no one knew that due to this explosion, 5 crores of radioactive material had gone into the atmosphere. Firefighters reached the spot and tried to extinguish the fire with the help of water. But this fire was not going to be extinguished because it was not a normal fire, but a graphite fire, which was not so easy to extinguish. Immediately after the accident, the entire prepared city was evacuated overnight, in which about 50,000 people lived at that time. By declaring emergency, the Soviet Union arranged for 100 buses, which took the people of this city to the Slavdich city, far away from here. The work of extinguishing this fire continued for the next 10 days in Noble with the help of helicopters. More than 5,000 tons of sand, mud, and other things were thrown to control the fire. Finally, the fire was extinguished after 10 days, but radioactive gases continued to go into the atmosphere for the next several days. The firefighters who were extinguishing the fire fell ill due to radioactive gases, and some people died in the coming days and some in the coming months. Initially, the Soviet Union wanted to suppress the news of this incident because it was the era of Cold War, and this news could badly spoil the impression of the Soviet Union. But this secret could not be hidden for long. On April 28th, 36 hours after the explosion, the Swedish radiation monitoring station observed that the level of radiation in the air was continuously increasing, and this radiation was coming from Ukraine. Due to this, the Soviet government finally got the matter. It had to be put before the world that even after the fire in Chernobyl, Reactor 4 was extinguished, the danger was not completely over. There was a pool of water under the reactor in which a large amount of radioactive material had gone. If it was not emptied on time, the steam of this water would spread more radioactive gases in the air. The only way to empty it was that someone jumps inside it and opens its drain valve at the bottom of the pool. But going into this radioactive water meant putting one's life at stake, and no one agreed to do this work. Here, three heroes, or rather superheroes, came forward. Mechanical engineer Alexei Eninko, senior engineer Larry Bezmel, and shift supervisor Boris Baranov. They decided to save others by putting their lives in danger. These three drivers got into that pool, and while swimming in the dark, opened its drains and stopped the reaction by emptying the water. Many people called this mission of theirs as Suiza ID mission, but luckily all three of them came out safe. But by then, a lot of damage had been done. As a result of the explosion, iodine-131 and other dangerous chemicals were spread in the air, due to which thousands of people got thyroid cancer and many thousands of people died due to this. Most of them were those people who were associated with the firefighting team and who later took part in the cleanup operation in Chernobyl. Along with this, these chemicals caused great destruction in the whole of Europe. The forests in which this radioactive waste fell turned from green to red. With the rain, these chemicals spread in the grass wherever they fell, and the animals who ate that grass also suffered a lot. In the first 4 months of this accident, only 31 people died, but the radiations that went into the air due to this killed about 4,000 people in the next few years. It took the lives of many people. This is a figure which is just an estimate. It is very difficult to even guess how much damage would have been caused by this. Today, the general public is not allowed to go to the site of the Chernobyl disaster because even after 38 years, some radiation is still coming out from there, and it will keep causing harm for the next 400 years. To prevent these radiations from spreading in the air, the government has installed a huge dome over it, which cost about $3 billion to build, and it will prevent the radiations of the Chernobyl disaster from spreading in the atmosphere for the next 100 years. I hope you all will like and share this video. I am very grateful for your loving comments. See you in the next wonderful video.